Try that again. All right. Let's think about that agenda item.
Discussion with the representatives from Haley Ward Architectural Firm regarding the initial plans and proposal.
You guys here?
This is Dario. Can you hear me?
We can now.
Matt?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Should I share my screen now or?
Sure.
All right, I'm doing it. Just a sec. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. This works in a different way on here. I don't see how to share my screen. Oh, no, there it is. I got it. Sorry. It says that I have to send you a request. So I've just sent the meeting organizer a request.
He just approved it.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you. All right. All right. Are you all seeing this?
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
Is it possible to make it full screen or is that it?
Yeah, I can do that.
While you're doing that, I'll start off a little bit.
There you go.
First of all, thank you guys for everything and just kind of a progress update. We've got just about everything complete. The program, which will be the first thing we'll go through, will show what was initially discussed, but then the results of our meeting out there that turned into, real bricks and mortar. The building had increased in size because there's some more elements that we wanted to incorporate into the building, and that will show up in the drawings when we look at those. But if there's changes, as a result of this meeting, then the drawings, of course, will change. We've been in close contact with Sebago Technics on the site, and they're in a little bit of a holding pattern until we lock in on the building. When we lock in on the building, then they'll finish the site plan, but they know what we're doing, where we are, and where we're going, and they've been very nice to work with. And a couple of the major design criteria here that came into play, and we tried to come up with a solution to allow us to do what you wanted to do, both long-term, and I'll say short-term, long-term, but what you wanted to do in its entirety, but also trying to pay attention to the budget, which is Matt had come up with a good idea saying, is there a way to get this done if the budget is the driving factor? And if so, how? But, a lot of times people say, what can we cut out? But usually it's not enough to make an impact on the project. But in this case, we laid it out so that we could put everything in except the community room on a phase, even though we've never discussed phasing it, but at least you have an option. And if we have the budget, then we build exactly what you guys wanted. And with that phase, what happens is that the building, the only difference in the cost of the initial phase one, I'll call it, and phase two is the community room. And we're not recommending a phase, but we just wanted to give you options, is that the bathrooms would be a little bit bigger so that when the community room gets built, they would work, as opposed to going in and adding a second toilet to each of the bathrooms later on. So phase one stands alone. It can operate with or without the community room. And then if we do keep the community room in the program, then, as you guys had asked, it can operate independently or simultaneously with the library. So there was some real discussion on how do we isolate the library from the community room if there's someone's using it after hours and still have the toilets accessible, and that can all happen. Because the toilets have two different entries which can be locked, so that you can access it from the community room after hours, or you can access it from the library during hours. And if both are going, we would still lock the door to the community room. So there'd only be one access, because you don't want someone popping in on somebody else, so it allows you to operate flexibly however you want to do it, library only, community room only, or both at the same time. And then that's primarily just at a higher level view of what we tried to do in order to allow the project to move forward, is give you that opportunity. And again, if everything still works and we got the budget, we can pay for it, then we build exactly what you asked for. And in this meeting, then you guys can, ask questions, make changes. And when we're done with this, we'll give you a revised set of floor plans. We'll sit with Sebago Technics. They'll give you the site plan. And then we can go back, and if there's changes, revisit the estimate. And then you get your master plan, which is scope, cost, and schedule. Then we'll say, here's what it would take to implement. So that's kind of the high level view of what we have and where we are. And everything's kind of documented too. So we try to take out the gray and the he said, she said, and just get the facts on the table and then move forward. So I'm going to let Matt start off. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay.
Oops. Okay. I'm sorry. I have to go back.
Do you have any questions, anybody yet?
I have a question.
Sure.
What's that area that's between the community room and the sitting reading area? Looks almost like it'd be a fireplace.
Yes, it's a two-way fireplace. Exactly.
It is a fireplace. Yep.
That's great.
All right. Let's talk about the program first. And I'm sorry, I'm going to make this bigger again. So again, we talked about exterior features. There needs to be a library garden, and there needs to be a parking lot, and Sebago Technics provided those things. And then we have primary program spaces. We have a children's area that's supposed to support 10 to 50 people. We're supposed to have stacks and browsing and display that will basically provide a place to view and understand the library's collection, which is currently 8,500 volumes or so, plus 10%. So the stacks area needs to accommodate some growth for the building, and that can happen here. There's also a sitting and reading area, which I think we've talked about in the past about how libraries these days become kind of a living room for the community. So this is where some of that browsing and reading and sitting and contemplating can happen. The hardest part to fit into your existing program was the community room, which is designed to seat 60, as we discussed. So that one, again, we looked at ways to maybe put that off or do it later. But anyway, it's in our program. We also had some area for computer technology, computers, printers, and 3 to 4 people to use that kind of equipment. And then, let's see.
Technology. And I'll butt in for 2 seconds on the
Oh,
community.
sure. Yep.
Yeah, in the community room, we also had to put area for table storage to give you flexibility in how you use it.
Right,
Whether it's-
Dario. It's actually in right now. The program spaces are the spaces where people are actually going to be and do something. We have support spaces on the next slide here.
Okay,
That's fine. And so the support spaces are the things that we're going to need to, to actually make the library work and to support the spaces where the people actually are. So obviously there needs to be an entrance vestibule. It needs to be an airlock because we live in Maine where it's cold. So there's a small airlock entrance vestibule at the front of the building. There's going to be a coat storage area. There's going to be community room storage, which is the table storage and AV equipment storage that Dario just mentioned. We also have to have a circulation desk where people can check out books, and also where the librarian can supervise the library and keep an eye on what's going on. The librarian also needs a workroom or a break room that can sort of be a place for volunteers to work, and also for the librarian to work, where things can be done, mailings can be done, where books can be repaired, those sorts of things. So we have a workroom for that. We have a small tutor room where people can work together and learn how to do a new skill, or a student can be tutored in math or English or something like that, privately and sort of away from the general ruckus of the library. Of course, a building has to have public restrooms, and as we mentioned, that's determined by the calculated occupant load of the building, which is a function of size, and we can talk about that in more detail later if you have questions. There also needs to be some general storage space, and then there'll need to be a mechanical room and a janitor's closet. When you add all that up, it comes to about 4,900 square feet, but we also have a planning contingency, which puts it to 5,200 or so.
so in addition to that, the vestibules, just so you know, we've got 2 of them. We also have one going into the community room, because if it's used after hours, then that's the entrance people will use. We don't have to bring them through the library.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it's really meant to be flexible that way for you guys. And sometimes you can rent out space too and make a little money on it. If you have some, local groups that want to use it for a gathering, it can also be used for that. So there's 2 vestibules here.
Yeah. So we also have a site plan, which again, this is based on Sebago Technic's original site plan. It's got the 14 parking spaces that they determined were required. It has an entrance off of Mercer Road, and it has a secondary exit on the adjacent school access road. We know that secondary access is actually, they were providing you with some different options on that. So they can look into that further once we've got the building nailed down. The parking lot is where you arrive when you come to the building. And then from there, you can go to an adjacent exterior courtyard space. And then there's also a plaza in front of the main library building. So again, it's your key point of arrival is this parking lot, and then the interface to get to the building or to get to the community room is off of that, and again, basically through plaza or green space. Again, you can see this is the basic layout of the library. The main library is here. The community room is over here, and as Dario has mentioned, it's got two entrances. One, if the community room is going to be operated after hours, and then there's the entrance to the main library and also an exit out the back.
And one of the things that we did here too was the presence, off the main street. The front of the library is the view that makes it kind of classic architecture. So when you're driving in, you're going to see the wonderful front entrance. And then behind that and to the right, as you're driving, is the secondary entrance to the community room. And that plaza area is just a way to welcome people. And for right now, everything is still universal design as well. So we don't have ramps or any of that going on. When we exit the back of the building, is strictly for egress. That we would go back because we know the site slopes from front to back. In the back, we have several stairs that will take us out and let us get out of the building. But all the common areas off the parking lot were intended to be totally accessible, including the little sidewalk next to the parking and the one on Mill Street, the school access road.
Right. So again, here, this is this previous slide. This slide right here is a zoom in on that parking lot just to show it in a little bit more detail. And then we have the back of the lot to show. Oops, I'm sorry. Again, just to show how the building sits on the site, backs up to that access road to the school, and again has green space around the community room here. All right, and then moving to the building.
And if you guys just go back 1 second, Matt, just so
Sure. To which one?
The one you just had.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
left hand, right hand. Okay. This is the site plan, and you'll notice the back part is a little bit different because when we finally decided to make it dual function, we had to add egress to the community room without going through the library. So you'll see in the back of this, there's not a sidewalk, but on the next slide, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah.
On the floor plan, that was addressed. So now you can see there's egress out of the community room to the back. And that way the community room stands alone as an independent space, and it still has the bathrooms, the egress, and everything it needs to function. So those two exits out of the back, one out of the library, one out of the community room, tie together. And because the back is lower than the front, then those stairs take us down to the access drive by the school.
Right.
So the floor plans would take precedence over the site plan right now until we kind of get a sign off on the site plan or the floor plans. We don't want to keep changing the site plan.
Right.
Okay.
So again, this is the overall building plan, and I'm sorry, but it's actually in a different orientation than it was on the site plan. This is the front side of the building facing the parking lot. This is the back side of the building, providing egress access to the access road to the school back there. Again, you can see that phase one is going to be this part. Phase two.
Phase it, yes.
Phase two would be this part. The first phase is approximately 3,600 square feet. Second phase is approximately 1,600 square feet. The circulation and the workroom are placed to have an overall view of pretty much the whole library. So they can see to stacks and browsing. They can see the people sitting and reading. They can see the children's room. They can see everything. So again, the librarian's office is placed so that the building can be staffed with 1 or 2 people instead of needing many more because the control aspect is spread around.
And to make your lives easier, the little grids on there are 2 feet. So if you want to know how big a space is, you can just count the little grids and you say, oh, this office is 8 by 12, or this little cubicle is 6 by 8. So it allows you to understand the size of everything there without putting a million dimensions. So if there's anything that you want to know how big is the table, again, just count the grids. It's a very simple way to answer a million questions that usually come up when people are wondering how big is the aisle, how big are the bathrooms.
Yep. All right. So we talked about how there's oversight of the library, oversight of the children's room. We've got a sitting and reading room here, again, with a fireplace. The toilet rooms are sized for phase 1 and phase 2. So they'd be a little bit big for the initial library, but big enough for the library and the community room together. My initial code review of this says that sprinklers are not required. That was a goal, and we're trying to not require that, and I think we've done it. Any questions about the overall plan before I go into some of the detailed spaces?
My other question would be, we've got the sitting and reading area that's nestled in between toilets and a kid's room. If that's gonna be like the relaxing sitting area, I don't know if that's the best spot for it. I love that there's a fireplace, but I'm wondering if
Yeah.
that space in between, the circulation and that, and like the stacks and browsing, if something like that can kind of be, moved around a little bit, especially to put like maybe this sitting reading room closer to the front. And then the fireplace in a different, like, I don't think there needs to be a fireplace both sides to the community room. I think that is better suited to have it in 2 different spots in the library. I don't know, because of venting or something like that, that's why it has to be there on an outside wall, but.
Yeah, but actually, when we get to the community room, I can at least talk to you a little bit more about what our thinking is on that, why we did a double-sided fireplace.
Okay.
So
Sitting area, that
I mean,
can move to either one of the other tables. Basically, we just relabel it, and maybe that's tech by the fireplace, but yeah, there's flexibility. Those 3 tables are pretty
Well,
much.
no, I think the sitting room and the fireplace should be together. I just don't,
Yeah.
I know that if I was gonna sit there, I wouldn't wanna be right in between like both rooms of toilets, and I don't, like,
Yeah.
and then people going in, like, I don't wanna hear toilets flush when I'm sitting there. That's kind of gross and weird, and then you're right across from the children's room, which is never gonna be quiet.
Mhm.
Doors on that.
There are, and again, one of the things we knew about this building is because it's 3,600 square feet, it was going to be tight and things were going to be close. And so that's why, for instance, the children's room is enclosed as opposed to how it is now at your current library. Your current library, the children's room is basically the whole library. So the idea is to set this up so that there can be sound separateness. We can design these walls so that they provide enough sound isolation. But in answer to your original question, there's no reason this can't be re-scrambled a little bit if you'd like to see some things in some different places.
Yeah, I just think when when you walk into the library, you're not gonna be able to see the fireplace at all, and I think that kind of like grand, like you come in the vestibule. I think that could be a much prettier moment when you're walking in from, a visual standpoint, if it's kind of straight down in like the view of sight there. And I don't know about the.
Double sided, so by having it.
Yeah, in the community room, but.
Right.
That's what I mean, like, so it's gonna be fairly like flush over there, like when you walk into the vestibule and you walk into it, you're not gonna see it at all because it's gonna be behind on the other side of the wall of a bathroom. I'm just saying, like, looking at the library, when you come in, like where the stacks and stuff are, it'd be nice if that was kind of front and center, I would think.
Yeah.
I think that would look a lot better, and I mean, you can go over what you think about with the fireplace in there, but I think that community room, I think that's a waste of a fireplace in there. I think that having as many spaces within the library itself for what people are doing, to have access to it and be able to sit near it, like have tech on one side, then have a sitting area on the other. I think that's where the enjoyment of that would come from, and when you walk in and see it, that'd be much prettier than.
Okay.
having it inside. But that's
Yeah,
just, I
no,
mean,
that's totally fine. That's one of the things we're looking to get from you is feedback on the design. So here, let me go to the next slide and I can talk about some of the thinking behind some of these other.
Can I ask you a couple of questions first, please?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You didn't reference that conference room in the back corner. I know the meeting room is for the tutoring.
Yeah.
You didn't.
I think these two rooms are actually in the wrong locations. I think the meeting room needs to be over here and the conference room needs to be here off the corridor.
and that's
Correct.
all for the whole library.
Okay. And then if the librarian's having a story time in the children's room, is she gonna still be able to see the library, the rest of it?
Yeah. It's not easy to see, but there can be windows in this wall.
We drew windows right there with the cursor.
Yeah. And there, another question I had was, you had mentioned both a mechanical room and a janitor's room. But depending on what type of heat we use, or, there wouldn't be that much more that would need to be in there, except the electric panel and then the janitor's supplies, right? I mean, maybe we could combine those two?
Again, it depends on the system, but and again, it's on a later slide, but we have the janitor's room here, and then the idea is that any mechanical space that's needed will be, if you see this main wall here, will be above this area.
Oh, okay,
This part is a cathedral ceiling out in front.
okay.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, here, let me go through the other slides and hopefully I can make it a little clearer. So again, the stacks and browsing area and the circulation and the tech are going to have a cathedral ceiling. The building will have scissor trusses over this part of it, which I don't know if you know what they are, but it's basically the bottom chord is sloped so that it basically makes a cathedral ceiling like you'd expect to see in your living room or something like that. In terms of the stack space, we actually did a layout and figured out we had room for enough shelf space for 10,000 books. So that's what this is sort of sized on. Again, there are places to sit around it. If we rework it so that the fireplace is out here, we can do that. That can happen. And again, the idea is also for it to have a lot of glass at the entrance so you can look in, and it kind of has the aspect of you can look in and see that it's a place about books and reading, kind of like a bookstore, but a public space for that. All right, so here, next slide. So again, the back of it, like I said here, the mechanical loft is over this part. We have the children's room that is separated from adjacent spaces for sound, but it has windows for visual access. The sitting area is near circulation. Again, maybe we can find a different place that works better. And then private meeting and conference rooms at the rear of the building. Again, I think I would swap looking at it now, I would swap the meeting room over here. This is basically the tutorial room. I would move it to the other side and have the conference room more off the corridor. And then we have the computer and tech areas off to the side either way for ready assistance from the librarian. And then the last enlarged slide, and then we can circle back around and talk about it some more, is again the community room. The idea with the community room is it could be set up for many different functions. So it could have chairs at round tables for a conference or a meal. It could have chairs and rows like it's illustrated here for a presentation. It could be set up for a fundraiser. That's why the fireplace is there, to make it a room that could have different centers depending on how you want to use it. And then again, it has access to the restrooms, and then it also has its own exterior access, and then a table storage room at the front.
And you can also have 6 or 8 foot straight tables if you wanted to
Right.
have courses or classes and use the screen in front of the table storage where you could give seminars or presentations and people could sit and take notes.
Right.
So it's
And
got
is
all
this a
that.
standard size roof like on this one? This isn't a cathedral in here, right? Is it a?
No, it could be, yes.
Okay, and then, so my question on that would be, is this, it looks like every entrance is able to sort of be shut off from the library. I'm just thinking from like a heating and cooling standpoint, if it's not one of the things that's gonna be in use all the time. Like, I'm assuming we're probably gonna have heat pumps in there. It would be nice if it was something that wasn't being used, because that's gonna be a fairly big space, and then if you throw cathedral ceilings in there, that'd be really
Yeah.
expensive to heat if it's not in use. So being able to kind of close that off from the library and keep it at like a lower temp.
The whole
Okay.
point to be.
Yeah, that's the whole point, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So like during the day, this might not be used at all for program because, it's sort of in library mode. But at the same time, either one of these spaces might be operated at a lower mechanical level, depending on how the building's being used.
Okay.
And although all the mechanical room for both spaces would be in the loft above the rear of the main building.
Yeah, and it's either zoning or different units, depending what system we find.
Right. Yeah. And that's something that we're not necessarily sure, especially at the concept design level. We often don't know exactly how a building is going to be heated. But our thought is it's going to be maybe some sort of electrical based system. You have to provide a certain amount of air changes in a public library like this, so there'll be air handlers up there and that sort of thing. So again, it'll come down to what eventually makes the most sense in terms of operating the building mechanically.
I have a question. I'm still hung up on this whole fireplace thing. Where did that idea come from? And is it gonna be like a gas fireplace?
Imagine it'd have to be insurance wise.
Yeah, it is. I can tell you, I'm working on other libraries. I've got 2 others that I'm working on besides this one right now. And both of them have a community room and a reading area that have a fireplace. So the idea is, again, it needs to feel like a reading area in your house or in a living room. And the idea is to have, or we're often requested to provide this feature. So that's why it's there.
Oh, I mean, I love it. I think that it's very cozy, and I think that adds like a certain level of charm. Like, I know that it's an additional expense, but I think that is well worth it. But like, I have landslide with that one. I mean, I'd put in more if I was like, especially if their gas ones are already wired for it at this point, like there's another spot, like I think that will bring a lot more people in to enjoy this space.
Okay. Any other questions about the plan?
How long before we can see it sort of in a 3D rendering? I know that for me, my little brain here I'm seeing squares and I'm trying to picture it and it's not popping alive for me, seeing it flat in little squares, like being able to see it 3D, I know that'll give me a much better idea of like the flow and how it works, and if any tweaks need to be made. Like, how far off are we from seeing something 3D to see what a walkthrough would feel like?
Well, I would defer to Dario. I
don't think that was in our scope. Is that what you're saying, Matt?
Yeah, I at this point, I haven't been asked to do it I mean, I have a design that's I've worked out in 3 dimensions, but I haven't actually built a 3D model of it.
Okay.
That doesn't mean it can't be done. It's just, it's not something I believe that we're providing now.
Okay.
We can give you a cost for that.
If you
Any,
look
any other
Look.
questions?
at this building, it's gonna really look a lot like this building here.
Mhm.
If you,
It's gonna be big.
yeah, from the
Seems like a
outside.
lot. Are we still talking about the floor plan?
Sure.
Uh. On that back egress, how do you plan on getting a wheelchair down over a 4.5 foot retaining wall?
You don't,
At this point, you need to provide, so like I said, like we've said, there's no entrance ramps are required to get in the front. There will be no entrance ramps required to get out the side. This back entrance is more of a service entrance. We have to provide enough required exits that are accessible. But for this building, a building this size, that's 2.
Okay, yeah, cause I mean, it's not they can't access the library to get out one of the other ones, so.
Right.
And
Well, and
the,
it's-
This, yeah,
it's no different than a high rise, you know, you got 8 stories. How does a person can only get out, you know, either stairs or an elevator with the fire department. So this is, the front door is your handicap entrance and egress, and the same thing with the community room. So there's a handicap way in and out. You don't need all egresses to be handicap accessible.
right.
And neither one of those from the front are like ramps, they're just the way that it's actually graded.
They're actually lower slope than ramps.
Right.
Basically like a sidewalk on the street. So, you know, if you keep the slope below,
5%.
thank you,
Yeah.
5% or 1 foot and 20, you don't need,
Perfect,
you
yeah.
don't need handrails, guardrails, any of that stuff.
We,
Yeah, I think that's great. It won't visually interrupt the space, but it still complies. That'll look a lot better.
Right.
yeah, well, it more than complies. We had talked about that earlier, trying to incorporate universal design, which is what that is, so that anybody can go in any entrance at any time versus, okay, you handicap people, you go in there and all us normal people go in here.
Mhm.
So the universal design, you don't have to mark it handicap. They're
Yeah.
not ramps, so you don't need grab rails and handrails. And if everything's less than 5%, it's considered flat by code, so that people just come and go, not even realizing that it was designed above and beyond the handicap needs. It exceeds the ADA requirements.
okay, the conference room in the back, say I'm in there with the conference room. And then fire in the children's room, how am I supposed to get out?
It's the number of exits that are required is driven by the occupant load. If
Yeah.
it's less than 50, then you only require 1 exit.
Okay, so you can have a room buried inside of another room?
Yes, you
Okay.
can.
Well, we couldn't have the fire station, fire marshal shut it down, made us put another
Yeah.
door in, so.
What about the windows? One of the windows being sized for.
Well, no, typically they don't want you to use windows for exits.
No,
Yeah. Okay, I feel like it's a concern, I don't think that's gonna fly, but
Yeah.
We have rooms here. We
Yeah.
have at least 2 rooms here.
what's that, room inside a room?
Yep.
This is a 100-year-old building too.
No, even on the new portion.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. We were made to put in double doors in our office room because fire marshal wouldn't let us have a room in a room.
Could also be the nature of the building.
Yeah. Again, one of the things I would recommend doing is swapping these 2 rooms. And then the conference room would be out here on the hall. And this is a tutor room, which is more like a secondary activity to the children's room.
And understand, we gotta make everything meet code, so we don't have a choice with that. So,
I just have questions, that's all. But
Yeah.
I almost think it'd be worth making the conference room and the meeting room, one room, exit into the hall instead of having. What's wrong with a bigger conference room?
Yeah.
Right?
Or maybe make
Yeah.
it one of the collapsible like walls, so you can, you know, if you have.
Or something like that. Then my only other real concern is the inward swinging doors in the children's room. If that capacity is 50, don't they have to be towards egress?
Yes, they do.
Do they have to have doors at all?
What's that?
Did they have to have a door there at all?
No, the reason the doors are there is because, again, we were concerned about sound.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I think they have to swing out.
you're still gonna, I mean, it's still
Yeah.
open for circulation
Eh,
desks, so.
Yeah, I mean, again, remember the other thing is, it's driven by the calculated occupant load of this, which, again, I would have to run the numbers, but it's no problem to swing the doors the other way.
I just be worried about a kid not trying to push that door when it's a shut door, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm just worried about that. And then, as far as the circulation desk goes, I think I would rather have people with their eye on the women's bathroom, not the men's bathroom.
I think they're gonna be unisex, aren't they? The bathrooms?
Circulation desk is across from Nolan's, isn't it? No?
No, I mean this way.
Well, we still have to provide enough fixtures for men and for women. You can label the rooms however you want.
Okay. Well, the urinal might be a problem, but yeah.
My other question would be, like, I see this bump out, looks like kind of like a bay window area in the children's room. I'm just
Yes.
curious, whenever you do something architecturally like that, it usually, you know, increases the cost pretty significantly, and I'm wondering, you know, is the juice worth the squeeze on that for that small amount of square footage to?
Well, I mean, I think it will depend on what it looks like. Part of it was to get this room big enough in this width with the other things that were going across the way. So this is square footage that's needed. It's also a great way to make a story area into an event in the room. You know, light views from a story area is a good idea. I've got, again, this is a feature I've used in other libraries as well.
Well, and.
Just curious about the cost of that versus going straight, you know, because if we had to bump out, you know, some other areas to make it big enough space wise, I would just be curious to know how much that, you know, sort of bump out cost versus keeping it straight.
It's just the square footage, it would be basic square footage, because there's nothing special about it. So if we squared it off, you know, we popped it out.
No, I'm gonna change that. This.
And squared it off,
Yeah, it's not so much a lot of people believe that you know, adding angles to the building or to the footprint of the building adds cost. And some contractors calculate it that way, others just do it by the square footage.
And there's something else just going on here, architecturally, and I know it's not apparent, but we're trying to think ahead and do some really cool stuff. We've got an axis that starts at the front door vestibule, and are the dotted lines on this drawing or no?
Yeah,
No, they're not in this drawing. They were on the hand-drawn
So
line.
if you go from the vestibule and you go straight back, you're gonna hit the wall to the children's area. And that's dead center on the building. It's also dead center on the cathedral ceiling. Then we have a second axis that goes from the community room all the way through to the bay window. And that's a second axis that allows the architecture, you know, going through the fireplace, through the bay window, to speak with the ceilings and everything above. And when the gable from the vestibule back to the students' room, I think I can see the 45 on there, Matt. There's a 45-degree angle for the door, but also, can you zoom in on that? I think, yeah, see the dotted line?
Okay. Yeah.
So that dotted line comes
So
back.
that's the ridge.
Exactly. So that focal point is up in the gable, and that's where the gable roof goes down to the flat roof, and the flat roof being in the sitting and reading area. The community room can do whatever it wants at this point because it's so physically separated that can have a gable going to the fireplace within itself. And then the story area takes that same center line, and it's like an old classic access, like where you have, you know, from libraries to churches to, you know, going back to, you know, the Greek architecture. where these axes intersect and those focal points, whether they're the fireplace, the center of the community room, or the entrance to the community are tied in with all the architecture. So it's not kind of happenstance, but it's really cool stuff that I don't want to say you'll get by surprise, but it's been thought out. So
Yeah.
that's some of the stuff that you don't see in the plans. And I think, I forgot who asked the question, would a 3D model help understand that? Absolutely. But we're also trying to make sure it's designed, in a way that's easy to build, but can be really cool historically and architecturally.
Any other questions?
Now, would you need both bathrooms if we decided to just have, call it the phase one side? Would you still need both bathrooms?
You would need 2 bathrooms, but not as big.
Yeah.
Basically, you eliminate the urinal and the first water closet in the women's.
Okay, so you still need them both.
Yes.
And then on to once you have phase 2 in, what prevents somebody from using the bathroom from the community room and then just walking into the library through the other door?
These doors would be locked at night.
Yeah.
You will,
So there's one door that can block it off.
you will always have
This will be open.
a pair of doors locked no matter what. So if it's open to everybody, the doors to the community room would be locked. If it's open to just the community room, the doors to the library would be locked. So if it's both, you would enter through the library doors. If it's just the community room, you would only enter through the community room. They are lockable doors. One door to each bathroom will be open at all times, but they're not deadbolt lockable. They're key lockable because they're meant to be solid, impenetrable walls if there's different functions.
So you can lock somebody in the bathroom and just go home?
What's that?
So you can lock somebody in the bathroom?
I feel like you can do that anywhere though. I feel like I've locked people in bathrooms. Porta potties too, just stick.
I get it. Okay.
Any other questions about the plans before I go on to some of the design thinking behind this and then the elevations?
I had just maybe one comment, and that was our community room is planned for 60 people. And the children's room says it's got capacity for 50 people.
Right.
I'm not
Well-
buying into that. And if 50 is the trigger for that children's room for the doors to open outward, then I can reduce.
Yeah, it's my belief that the children's room is slightly
Bigger.
smaller than
It's a
50
lot
because the
smaller.
idea was that this would be for a larger, because remember when we were talking about 50 or 60 people being there, it was, everybody and their children coming for an event. That might be better handled here.
Right. I just wasn't fond of the idea of having those doors open up on an angled wall, open up into the middle of the room.
Okay.
Yeah, could open up to like the sitting area, the tech one over here too.
Yeah, I mean, there's it could go other places. That's not a problem.
No, I just think if the doors could continue to open in,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
if
Okay.
capacity is
The
used,
occupancy less.
right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have to put 50 people in there.
Yeah. Okay.
2 sinks too. It's a lot of plumbing over on that side. I'm also thinking too, like in the workroom and in the children's room, like that's a lot of plumbing over on
That's
that.
different rooms, so the workroom
I
is
know.
like her kitchen would be the
Oh,
library,
that's-
kitchen space.
okay,
and
so that's
for
kinda
those
like
kids to
their-
clean their-
That's where
So
kids
that's
to
like
clean
their-
their hands.
Okay, so this is like their kind of break roomy type of place?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
Right.
work-
It ended up being a sort of a multi-purpose thing where it could be a place for volunteers to work. It could be a place to spread out and do, like I said, a mailing or something like that, or work on books to fix them or repair them. It could also be kind of a retreat for staff to be in when they're not directly working. The idea is to just have more than one space where staff can be and add flexibility to the things that they can do there. Okay. I think I'm going to go on to the elevations and then we can circle back. One thing I wanted to talk about was, and here I'm going to make this big again, is some of the inspiration for this. And our inspiration for the exteriors was typically classical, and this is typical in Maine, but also in other places for library design, whether it's made out of masonry or whether it's made out of wood. So you can still be very formal with the symmetry of the design. You can have porticos on the front. And that was kind of what we were looking for based on some of the talks that we had with you all. The idea that this would be kind of a formal looking little library, small town library that would be at the same time, it would be civic in nature. So it would have some importance as a structure and a design. So our exterior cues were taken from basically a lot of local Maine libraries that have gable ends at the entrance and columns and centralized symmetry. And you can see that in these libraries over here. This is this is your older, one of the older buildings that you have. And in fact, this was a strong concept idea for this project. And then again, inside, you can just see some of the moments that we were talking about. You know, the community room where a presentation can be given, some of the cozy spaces to sit and read a book, children's reading spaces. By the way, that's my two kids when they were much littler. But you know, the idea of a place where a story can be told and where people can be. I've got another slide about this as well. Again, some more examples of this. Again, this is much fancier than what we're going for. But again, it's still wood. It's still centralized. It's got bilateral symmetry. Same thing here with the Peabody Library. And even this library, which has a flat roof and is much more modern looking. These two buildings are in there for another reason. I think I talked about the front of the building being kind of glassy so that you can look in and see what's going on in there, and you're invited to come in. You know, the idea of a bookstore, basically. And then I talked about the front part of the building being having a cathedral ceiling, having some formality that way. And again, these are some of the images that we were thinking of that moved us in that direction. Let's see. So that brought us to this elevation that we designed for the building. And again, you can see this is the part right here that fronts on the parking lot. It's got bay windows where people can sit and look out, but people can also see in. It's got a very glassy entrance. And again, another bay window on this side. It's got a columned portico here. And it's also got an arched window up high that provides light into the cathedral ceiling area. And that's what you can see, this dotted line behind. So to provide high light in the space as well. And then again, you can see the community room coming off here as an L to the main building. So, and again, our thought is that this would be wood, clapboards, wood detailing, or or wood style detailing, it might actually end up being, tougher materials like hardy plank siding and that sort of thing. So, but anyway, something that's residential scale, but still important, that has symmetry, that has transparency, and that has the formality that you're looking for, or that we discussed in, sort of figuring out what this building would look like.
I don't know how to show you where I'm thinking of, like, I don't know if the camera come over and look over here, but this space here, is that like storage space?
Here, I'm sorry, I can't see what
Yeah.
you're looking at.
Like where the main line of the building comes down, and then you've got the roof line that goes out over the phase 2 part of it. There's
Yeah.
basically like this triangle of, I mean, if the ceiling's coming down here, there's gonna be, I mean, that's a big triangle of space. Is that for like a loft that can be accessed, or is that just like dead space?
It would be empty space.
Could it be
But it
used
would
for
be,
storage?
but it would be ventilated.
Be mechanical and.
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
and
The
place.
the
Yeah.
the mechanical loft is behind this pitched area.
Okay.
So the shape of this back over the spaces to the rear is the whole triangle. In the front part where the stack spaces is, it's got a peaked ceiling in it. But this
And
would be,
That dotted line showed where the gable ended, the interior cathedral. ceiling.
Yeah, that's where
Right.
like the, kind of like the addition part is what I'm talking about, like that roof line that goes from that. The main part of the building slope over, yes, right there, where you just.
Oh, okay.
Like that chunk where your thing is.
again, it would be constructed the same way as this, in that it would have a pitched ceiling inside. But if you, again, if you decide that you don't want to do it that way and you just want to have a flat ceiling in here, it would be a great attic.
Just didn't know if I can announce.
The great attic, we have to add stairs to. At that point.
That's one reason why we didn't do it that way.
I wanted to put an eyebrow dormer in front of the community room entrance, but again, that's just a lot more money.
Yeah.
And it's an awesome looking thing, but it costs a ton of money.
What about just having like a small like dormer that followed that same line of the triangle right above it? You know, not even like.
Yeah, I mean, there could be a dormer here.
Like just something triangular that so it matched the architecture on both sides, just above it, just kind of framing the door in front of it, just a triangle. To tie the
Sure.
two spaces together.
Yep,
More decorative, just kind of going over the, the space.
right.
We can. Yep.
I would rather that, if we're looking at a cost thing, than the bay window in the children's room, because looking at it from the road, I think that would be more impact visually than the other one, but
There's not gonna be anybody that sees the children's room
Yeah.
above.
yeah.
No,
I think that's
just
kind of a waste.
It's footage that we need though.
When you shovel it.
I mean, then bump it out into the hallway more, and take some of the, the sitting area there, and, I mean, I feel like we can scoot some things over instead of bumping out a wall, because that really doesn't give that much, it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 feet by 4 feet, not even, like, it's not much space for that much more, like,
Behind the
It's,
table.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's as big as the janitor's room is.
well, not, I guess so, kind of, yeah.
So what would you expect to be in this mechanical loft?
Again, air handlers, there'd probably be a water heater up there. If there's, there could be gas combustion in the air handlers. Again, it just depends on what system we use.
Don't want water in the ceiling, do you?
No, I mean, I think we want heat pumps as much as we can, and then whatever we have to do to make it so, whatever.
See them on the outside.
And we have the back of the
air
building.
handlers. We have to have the air handlers anyway.
Yeah.
Air handlers.
Yes, yeah.
I'm just concerned about having water over all the books and stuff.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Well, but they actually, well, again, we could also find a place for the water heater on the first floor. So, maybe it would mostly be air handlers.
You can also put spill containment as well. You just put a waterproof floor with a drain. So if the whole thing lets go,
Yeah.
it just goes down the drain.
Right. I mean, going back to the site plan, we don't necessarily have a lot of room left on the site I mean, this is a setback over here. We might not have enough, much room to put a full-on mechanical room down here.
Right. Or a full tank or a propane tank.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna put a propane tank out back? 10 feet away.
Yeah, I mean, it could be back here.
Mm, yeah.
This is gonna take quite a few heat pumps. If
Um,
you're talking about cooling, it's gonna take a lot of heat pumps. Several.
Easier than heating
well,
with them.
here's the thing is, the other thing is, the thing to know about your typical residential heat pumps is that they don't provide ventilation. This building is going to be, because it's an assembly building, it's going to require ventilation. So residential heat pumps are not going to be the thing that we can use. We can maybe use it in some places, but not every place. So, there may be a heat pump feature to the air handlers we're talking about, because that's a separate, actually heat pumps is a separate thing to ventilation. But again, you're right, it would take a lot of heat pumps to manage this, but again, it's because it's a bigger building, it's going to require a somewhat more elaborate HVAC system because of the air changes that the building has to have, the ventilation it requires. I have a budget to go over too, if you would like. This next slide. And here, let me make it big.
Whoa. Oh, man.
So this shows, this is not just the construction budget. This reflects the budget for the whole project. And it's divided into three.
Furnishing or no?
What's that?
Is that's not including like the interior furnishing, like bookshelves?
Right, exactly. So the first part is construction cost. That's going to be the amount. So this amount for phase one, 1.7 million, is going to be the construction. That's the check you're going to write to the contractor to build the building. Administrative cost and reserve, that's acquiring the land. I'm assuming that you already have it. Movable equipment, that's all the furniture. Technology, that reflects computers and networking and things like that. We have discovered that you need to have a utility connection allowance. In the old days, we used to be able to connect to the electric grid for $30,000, but we've been finding it to be much higher now. It's more like 70. Again, advertising, insurance, and legal, that includes that's the aspects of your bid process and that sort of thing. And then we definitely recommend that you carry a bid contingency and a construction contingency. At this point, we've set it to 7.5 because this is concept design. That totals out to a 15% contingency of the construction cost. And then down here, this is fees and services. This is the fee that you would pay to the architect and engineer, but also to agencies for reviews and special inspections and construction testing and survey and those sorts of things. So again, phase one, and the other thing to know is that I've used, in terms of a construction cost for the building, I've used $400 a square foot. That's based on what we're seeing in the construction market now. I just had a library in Caribou that was entirely interior. It wasn't new, and it came in for $375 a square foot. So that's why I use that number. Again, it can the number can change based on what the how elaborate the design gets. So it, you know, this is what we're finding is a reasonable number right now, and what we're experiencing on some of our other projects. But if you want to spend more, you can spend more, and we can try to make it so that it's less. So again, this is phase one, which is the library, and then phase two would be the community room, which would be another $700 and almost $800,000 for that wing, and then another 865 for your contingencies and that sort of thing, and then 153 for fees and services would be another 1.8 or so. It's important that you understand if there's a time gap between these two things. Every year our experience is that every year you put off the cost, it's about the construction market escalates by about 6% a year. So the building is never going to be less expensive than it is today, and it generally speaking goes higher. If you were to build the whole thing, again, you're looking at $2.5 million for the construction costs, 1.4 for owner's administrative cost and reserve, and another 474 for fees and services, or a total of $4.4 million. And just so you know, we're going to give you a PDF of this presentation so you can print it out and look at it in more detail.
Small numbers, scary enough. The number that big from here is scary enough.
You know, blurry now.
That's part of why I was reading you the numbers. I know they're small on the screen.
You print that a little bit.
Yeah.
So to do it all at once is obviously cheaper to do it all at once.
Yeah.
Savings.
Right. It's
You're
true.
not tearing into a brand new building and kicking walls out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Another thing to keep in mind is, let's say you decide you've got a design and you're ready to go ahead and you're going to raise funds on it. You know, anytime you take raising funds, like if it pushes it off a year, then that's going to push the price up as well.
Mm-hmm.
I also think on this, it's not necessarily additive phase one, phase two. Because some of the stuff, if they're done at the exact same time, then permitting a bigger building isn't more expensive than permitting one building and then an addition.
That's true too.
So some of that, you know, even some of the engineering and A&E and legal stuff, when you bid it out, whether you're bidding out the first part or both of them at the same time, it's kind of the same amount of work. It's a little bit more to bid out a bigger building, but in this case, there may be some savings if it's done all at once, because certain things, you make the electrical connection once, you know, so, you know, that's something where we have it in the front, but if we're going to build a building, you know, on round two, you know, when we do it up front, we would do that connection for the whole building, knowing that we would, you know, add on later on. So there's a couple things here that could save a little bit. It's not going to move the needle tremendously, but anything you do one time versus two is less expensive, because, you know, the wall where we join the community room would have to be built as an exterior wall and be insulated and everything else to stand alone. But if we're going to build the community room day one, then that wall is built as an interior wall, and we don't need the sheathing and the vapor barriers and all the stuff as if it's an outside wall. So there's a little bit there that will help on the number, but again, it's not gonna move the needle enough where you say, oh, you went from 4.5 million to 3. But there's some stuff there that if it is all
I mean, you
done-
might get it down to 4.
Right, but it's a
Yeah.
decent amount if it's done all at once, and that's, those are exterior doors, do we frame out the bathroom doors, there's some of that stuff. And I think, I forget, who brought it up, but one of you guys, and said, well, what if we could build the bathrooms and just not put the 2 toilets in? So the plumbing's in place and the area is in place, but we don't pay for the 2 extra, toilets and urinal day one. But it's not, again, if we get it down to 4 million, that would be great. And the bay window isn't gonna, you won't even notice that in the big picture.
Mhm.
Right.
But it's important to note that this budget, if you're comparing it with other budgets or budgets you find on the internet, to make sure you're comparing apples to apples, this covers everything as opposed to just a construction budget.
And that's huge. I would almost ask Matt to say that again. When,
Oh, okay, I'll say it again.
No,
This cover, yeah, okay.
well, I say that
Yeah.
because there were times in the past, and I'll give you this because it's really important. When I was starting my company, they'd say, and clients didn't know how to ask the question. They'll say, how much is my building? And I tell them $150 a square foot. And then my competitors tell them 110. And the competitors weren't lying, but the client didn't say, how much is my project? And there's a big difference between the project and the building, which you can see here. So they'll say, gee, Dario, why are you so expensive? And I said, because I'm trying to answer the question that you really meant to ask, which was, how much is the project? How much we got to include the furniture, we got to include the A&E. The building doesn't, A&E costs aren't part of the building. That's strictly the construction cost. So what we're trying to look at here is this is 100% of what we think you would spend to build and occupy this building, as opposed to just the top bracket, which is construction costs, which a lot of people will confuse with project costs.
Yeah, if you were going to do a capital campaign, this would be the number you'd be raising.
So I think we've scared people with the number, and of course, we're on the internet streaming right now. But I can see one big number that's in error already, and that's a $672,000 allocation for technology in phase 2. That's the construction of the new community room from the top side.
Actually,
So that
no, that's movable equipment. This number right here.
But that's supposed to be 8% of construction, and that is the same number that's in the top
Yeah, I'm
section.
sorry, there's an error in the
So if we could iron this out, obviously this is public and it's inaccurate right now, but that's $500,000.
And land is 146,000, that can be taken off. We've
Yeah.
already bought it.
Yeah, we already have the land, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
well, and
that's-
that, but the land is 0. You can see there's a dash.
Oh, yeah. I
That's
can't see.
movable equipment, which is 10%. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Which means
I'll
it's just
give this
as
to you with a corrected number.
If
I'm
we
sorry
could pull
about that mistake.
down, that would be helpful,
well.
and then we'll send it to the committee and have them take a look at it after you guys get another look at it, and then we'll.
Yep.
Share it. Save a bunch of money.
Yeah, keep
Yeah,
looking.
good job.
Take it down, keep looking.
It's an awful lot of tables and chairs.
Yeah, it is, it's too bad. It feels like more than we asked for.
Well, and again, items on this list they're all naming opportunities. You can use those and also the floor plan as a way to raise funds. The other libraries I'm working with are all doing capital campaigns right now, and that's how this is being handled.
Anything else that people are paying by the hour?
No, thank you.
We're good.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
All right.
We'll be in touch if there's anything else and,
And we'll send you out this, well, let us correct the budget and then we'll send it out.
Yeah,
yeah, please.
Okay. Thank you very much,
all right,
everybody.
thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you. So what is the community support? Like, is there a lot of community support or do we know?
I would say,
How people feel?
I would say mixed. I don't think that there was a great reaction to the paper that was put out.
I haven't heard anything bad about it either, so. I haven't heard either way, so.
I haven't personally, I just heard from other people that there was some. So I couldn't really tell you.
I know that seems like a lot of money,
Mhm.
but cause I'm from Farmington, we have, the ski slope.
Yeah,
They raised $2 million for T-bars.
Mm,
And, well, they are almost to the 2 million mark, but. I mean, I was amazed. I was like, there's no way.
yeah.
There's no way they're gonna raise $2 million for Take-Em ski slope. Well, they did, so, yeah, 4 million is a lot, but we're only gonna do this once.
Yeah, I know.
And, if, the community, Skowhegan's coming, here we are, a bedroom community of Skowhegan.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, it may not be that bad,
Yeah.
really,
We get support from banks and New Balance and stuff.
yeah,
You're gonna need more than handouts, you're gonna need to apply for grants, there's a lot of grants for libraries, they like building libraries, and they like
yes.
giving you technology grants and ADA grants, and you just gotta have somebody, not it, to fill them out.
Do you have people that can write grants, that know how to write grants and all that, or is there?
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Are there no
Yeah.
local grant writers anymore? Used to be guys that just.
Yeah,
Not really.
you just gotta find them, online, right?
You gotta vet them, we had one for the fire station, didn't do much of anything, it cost more than they ever saved us, so. Yeah, to be truthful, right? They,
I think we can figure it out.
And honestly, like the fire ones we contracted out, it was a great idea. But you do better by going and finding other people that were successful, getting a grant that you want and asking to see what theirs looks like.
Right,
That makes
And
sense.
honestly, almost copy and paste it.
and half of them are public anyway, if they're accepted,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
you just go and see
Right.
what they did.
and Matt said that the other ones he's working with are doing capital campaigns,
Right.
so.
there's.
Let's not reinvent the wheel, let's see what
Yeah.
you're doing,
Yeah,
and how
absolutely.
successful, what is good. I mean, we need to do more than
What
sell
approach
whoopie
to-
pies,
Yeah, yeah.
So,
That's maybe.
you gotta go,
And you're lucky because with library, you can take from 6 places to build one project where. Like some places you can, see, you can, I can't ask, if you give me more than this guy does, I gotta take your money. Stuff like that, but.
Yeah.
They like building libraries out there for some reason,
well,
and I say I wouldn't help, but I would help if somebody wanted to. Mess with grant stuff. I'll help do whatever, it just seems like a lot, it seems like.
It was a surprise.
More than
but,
you guys are asking for,
Yeah.
I get it, you want this size, and to be this size, you need.
But they increased it because of.
Capacity,
Capacity, yeah,
By
which-
40, that just seems huge.
Yeah.
Like, how big is this room again?
30 by 18, I think we said.
So it's gonna be twice as deep and longer, 10 feet longer.
Mhm.
That's a huge room.
It is, yeah.
And I was thinking
Did you
more
ask for
like,
600 square foot. Sections, right?
We asked for 900 square foot community room. 30 by 30 we asked for.
and you got 1,600.
But didn't have to do with capacity.
Yeah, that's what it
They wanted
was.
to get extra
Circulation.
people in.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
it was because capacity, yeah.
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 Geez, you could have town meeting.
Those,
You could have this year, yeah. But But you take a big year, like you put another gas line through Norridgewock, you wouldn't have one, right? You wouldn't have enough people in there.
Kind of depends on if there are issues. but-
Yeah. They can certainly take out of it or. Community room's a great thought, but. Doing it in two phases, I'd hate to see you destroy a brand new building just to
Yeah.
turn into it.
That, yeah, and I hate the idea of like
Right.
putting it out there like we're gonna do a second phase and then it just never happens.
Yeah,
You're almost better to build a community building somewhere, have events in it instead, right? Instead of jamming it all on one lot. Then you have your green space and your nature path.
Well, we use the school now for town meetings and voting and stuff. I mean, is that so bad to continue doing that?
We would probably still have to use it for town meeting, but voting we could do in this area.
I mean, we would have to have something bigger than the conference room that they offered. As far as, well, it'd be nice to, because like, for example, we use the Grange Hall for different events because we can't fit,
Yeah,
right.
you know.
like, would you, like, is any of this stuff movable? Like, do they make movable shelves where you could have an event out front? For
Well,
50
you'd have-
people?
They'd be all boxed, they'd be all books, so you'd be.
Yeah, you got
That'd be a
books on
lot.
there,
Yeah.
so do you guys have a community room in your fire department, in your
You
fire?
have a kitchen area.
Small one,
It is.
but yeah,
Oh, it is, okay.
It would,
It's so hard to know, like, if you do that,
It's
you
like,
know,
if we rented it out, but would there be any you know, would there be people wanting to rent it out?
Yeah.
You know,
be a lot paid.
what kind of
$2.5
restrictions are you
million.
gonna put on it?
Yeah.
Day parties.
Are you not gonna allow people to bring in alcohol or, you know, I mean, and that's just an example, but, you know, what kind of restrictions are you gonna put a restriction on on the hours that it can be used? Can it be used all night, you know, things like
Mhm.
that?
yeah,
I'm just thinking of quilting, people start sewing and they don't stop, you know, we just go all night long sometimes. You know, so just things like that, you know, but I don't think you can say, well, you know, we've only used the Grange this many times.
mm,
You know, it's just saying that old expression, if you build it, they will come, you know.
yeah, yeah.
That, you know, it would be
That's
so
true.
too bad to have that beautiful community room and not have it be used. but
Yeah, exactly.
I can't see that it won't be, you know, but. I don't know.
Everybody saw value in it until we saw price tag.
Yeah,
Yes,
That is-
exactly.
That is the problem.
yeah,
You bet 50 people, 60 people, it has to be so big and,
Yeah,
yeah. I like the thought of it. Certainly packs a lot into a small area,
it does.
and you just can't take away and gain anywhere, so. Without taking away big.
So my suggestion maybe is. For right now, punt. Get the library trustees started this wish list
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago-ish. Get some feedback. Did we over ask for what we wanted?
Feedback from the town or the trustees?
Trustees
The
first.
trustees first,
We're meeting on Thursday.
yeah,
Right, that's why it's
yeah.
not such a long shot, but, I mean, this is the
Get
wish
their
list of the
reaction.
Board of Trustees from a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that's been added necessarily is
A little bit of size.
the size based on the circulation
Yeah.
factor, so we're. Cause I look at this and I can easily see something scaled down. Do you lose 2 rows of stacks in the front?
You don't need 2 tech areas.
right.
One is plenty.
I noticed that too.
And
So I mean, things like that, but the cost of that isn't
that's
tremendous,
huge,
which is
no,
still.
I know, that's,
They're making use of the space that we had because we needed to expand the other rooms that are over here or over there. kind of thing. But. You know, is this what they envisioned for the children's room? I mean, that's pretty near the size of the existing library, isn't it? Not really, but,
no,
you know, substantial.
it is, what did they say it was?
It's about 18 by,
675 square feet. That's what they have.
30 by 18.
Sorry, that's one dish.
Yeah.
One of you.
Plus the bump up, so that's this room right here would be your new
675.
children's room. This room here would be your children's room. Is that really the need?
Well, that's
So,
not just children's room, that's gonna be the children's books too,
Understood,
yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. Mhm.
Right, but you got 3 walls there
with books along the whole wall,
Yeah,
there's books on the wall and the shelves.
I imagine. And then the whole, this half of the room is not used and that half of the room is kind of, this is kind of free space, if you will, just for using this room.
it would, yeah, it would also give the tables for like the homeschooling and the Legos. Lego club, but yeah, those, I'm assuming those stacks in the middle there, and then
Right.
there's around the wall.
But I mean, when you just look at a $400 per square foot, that has nothing really to do necessarily with the finities of what we're asking. That's, okay, well, if we get rid of the fireplace, how much do we save? Well, nothing, because it's based upon, that cost estimate is based upon square footage.
Right,
Right.
I'd rather get rid of that conference room than get rid of any space in that children's room. And then you
Right,
can
and that's
move
what
the
I just
room out,
poking, you know,
Yeah,
things like
yeah.
that, if.
yeah,
You know, I was looking at the sitting and reading area and, you know, Lindsay's right, you know, it's right next to the bathroom. But, you know, when you think about it, what are you gonna do if you find a book you wanna look at? You're gonna be more apt to sit down here in these little bump outs
yeah,
in the front, I would think. That's what I would do. And it's more quiet there than it is over here. There's a lot of
yeah,
activity.
middle of
here.
everything,
Are you
yeah,
gonna have 40 people in this library at once?
Right,
No.
you're not, but,
If you're in there enjoying a
right,
book, it's probably not gonna be like that.
right,
yeah,
And unless there's a function going on in the computer room and they're taking a break, like a meal break or a snack
Right.
break. You're not gonna have, you might see one person while you're reading a book, you might see one person use the
go
restroom.
back,
Right.
that's true.
yeah,
I mean, I'm in that library a couple of times a week, maybe more, and if I see more than 2 or 3 people in there, and usually it's somebody that comes in, gets a book and leaves, and one person at the terminals, computer terminals, I mean, so.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never seen more than maybe 6 or 8,
Hmm.
you know, but that's rare.
And then I'll devil's advocate in this, you know, take what you will, but the line is libraries aren't just about books.
Right,
And this doesn't scream that.
yeah,
I mean, if you don't have that community space, then you don't support that position necessarily. Because
I
there's
think the
not a
community.
lot of space for you to come in here and do anything.
And
other
do
than
anything
books.
else, no, and like we have like sewing classes, we have
Right,
Christmas ornaments, we have different things that attract a lot of people.
Right.
And it takes space to do
Right.
those things, so I'm not sure we need that big of a community room, that's all, but. But I think there may be things we could do to kind of,
or maybe it's just what you want and we look at it and get a deeper cost estimate.
all right, well, we'll. I think bring it to the board, of trustees to see what they about that.
I mean, I think that's.
Yeah, that makes sense, definitely, absolutely.
And then the next meeting is. Don't have it all in the books, but it would be the 27th of April,
What is that, the first?
it's a Monday.
The
It's
Monday.
Fourth Monday,
Okay,
is that what we're at?
that's where we are, yeah.
Yeah. You wanna plan on that tentatively?
That's good for me.
Yeah,
That's fun.
Yeah.
Start back and have some time to look over these numbers and
Yeah, get some input
so
from
the
the.
27th at 1 o'clock
I
again.
think so.
Okay. Everybody good? Any other business?
That community room doesn't have to be that big either.
That's what I
It's
said.
only that big because we said 60 people.
Exactly.
That's
Right.
the number came up with, so. Figure out what your biggest small event would be and
Go with
see
that.
if we can get one that side or something.
yeah, I almost think dimensionally, it's gonna be, I mean, it's pretty big compared to the library, the rest of the
Mm.
library, you know, it's more than an L.
Like I said, this is everything you asked for and the stipulations that come with it, you need this room, you need that room, you need a janitor room now. And you get maintenance in the ceiling somehow.
Well, we don't end up with a janitor room, I mean, the cost of building that up relatively. Free in the grand scheme of it, but if not, then we're gonna have mops and buckets and cleaning products
Oh,
right
yeah.
where everybody else
Yeah.
is. And I mean, look at my bathroom here.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, that's what the
just to be able to
library
have
is right
like
now.
a step ladder or something like that.
Yeah. But I think like even the electrical panel could be in there and maybe the hot water heater or what, anything to do with the electrical type of.
Anyway,
All right,
cool.
okay.
Adjourn. Other